Dr. Marcus Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead as he carefully brushed dirt away from the strange object. The desert heat made his work harder, but he could not stop now. He had been digging in this ancient site in Iraq for 3 months, and this was the most amazing thing he had ever found. The statue looked like a woman, but it was unlike anything he had seen before. It was made from some kind of crystal that seemed to glow with its own light. The material was smooth and perfect, without any cracks or damage. This was strange, because the carbon dating tests said it was exactly 1,000 years old. Marcus had studied ancient artifacts his whole life. He knew that people 1,000 years ago could not make something like this. They did not have the tools or knowledge to create such perfect crystal work. The statue looked more like it was made yesterday with the most advanced technology. The woman's face was beautiful and peaceful. Her eyes were closed, and she looked like she was sleeping. Her hair flowed down her shoulders in perfect waves. Every detail was so real that Marcus expected her to start breathing at any moment. This does not make sense, Marcus said to himself as he worked alone in the tent. His team had gone back to the hotel for the night, but he could not leave. Something about this statue pulled at him like a magnet. He had found the statue in the deepest part of an old temple. The temple itself was from ancient Mesopotamia, but the room where he found the statue was different. The walls were covered with symbols that did not match any known writing system. The symbols seemed to move when he looked at them, but that was probably just his tired eyes playing tricks on him. Marcus set up his equipment to take detailed photos. As he worked, he noticed that the statue's crystal material changed color slightly. Sometimes it was clear like glass, and sometimes it became cloudy like smoke was moving inside it. He had never seen any material do this before. "What are you?" Marcus whispered as he moved closer to the statue. The statue was exactly his height. If he stood next to it, they would be looking directly into each other's eyes. The thought made him feel strange. He had been around old artifacts his whole life, but this was different. This felt alive somehow. Marcus checked his watch. It was past midnight. He should go back to the hotel and continue tomorrow. But he could not make himself leave. He felt like the statue was waiting for something. Waiting for him. He walked around the statue several times, taking notes and measurements. The proportions were perfect. Too perfect for something made by humans 1,000 years ago. The more he studied it, the more questions he had. As the night grew later, Marcus found himself standing directly in front of the statue. Her face was so peaceful and beautiful. Her lips looked soft and real, not like carved stone at all. He reached out his hand and touched her cheek. The crystal was warm. Marcus pulled his hand back quickly. Crystal should be cool, especially at night in the desert. But the statue's skin felt like it had real body heat. He touched her cheek again, more carefully this time. It was definitely warm, and he could swear he felt a very soft pulse under the surface. "This is impossible," he said out loud. But Marcus was a scientist. He knew that impossible things usually just meant there was something he did not understand yet. He decided to run more tests. Maybe the crystal absorbed heat during the day and released it at night. Maybe there was some kind of radioactive material inside that created warmth. As he worked, Marcus kept looking at the statue's face. There was something about her expression that made him feel calm and safe. He had been working alone for months, and sometimes the isolation got to him. But looking at her face made him feel less lonely. The hours passed without Marcus noticing. He was completely focused on solving the mystery of the warm crystal and the perfect craftsmanship. He took samples of dust from around the statue's base and ran them through his portable analysis equipment. The results made no sense. The crystal contained elements that should not exist together. Some of the readings showed materials that Marcus had never seen before. His equipment might be broken, but he had checked it just yesterday, and everything worked fine. As dawn approached, Marcus felt exhausted, but could not stop working. He stood in front of the statue again, trying to understand what he was looking at. The woman's face was so real and detailed that he could see tiny lines around her eyes and small imperfections that made her look completely human. "Who were you?" Marcus asked the statue. "Who made you?" The statue's face looked so peaceful and kind that Marcus felt a strange urge to comfort her. She looked like she was having a good dream and might wake up at any moment. The idea was silly, but Marcus could not shake the feeling that she was somehow aware of his presence. Without really thinking about what he was doing, Marcus leaned forward. Maybe it was the exhaustion, or maybe it was the strange pull he felt toward the statue, but he found himself moving closer to her face. Her lips looked so real and soft that Marcus kissed the statue. The moment his lips touched hers, everything changed. The crystal material became warm like real skin. Light flowed through the statue's body like golden blood moving through veins. The symbols on the walls began to glow with the same golden light. Marcus tried to step back, but he could not move. Energy flowed between him and the statue, and he felt something awakening. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. The statue's chest began to rise and fall like she was breathing. Her skin changed from crystal to something that looked and felt completely human. Color flowed into her cheeks and lips. Then her eyes opened. They were gold, like molten metal, and they looked directly at Marcus with an intelligence that was ancient and powerful. The woman sat up slowly, never breaking eye contact with him. When she spoke, her voice was clear and musical, but the words she said made Marcus's blood run cold. "You have doomed Earth, human. The covenant of silence has been broken." Marcus stumbled backward and fell into his chair. His heart was beating so fast he thought it might burst. The woman who had been a statue moments ago was now sitting up and looking at him with those strange golden eyes. "This is not possible," Marcus said, his voice shaking. "You were stone. You were crystal. People do not just come to life." The woman moved gracefully, like flowing water. She stood up and looked around the tent, taking in the equipment and notes that Marcus had scattered everywhere. When she looked back at him, her expression was sad and tired. "My name is Zara," she said in perfect English. "I am Cathmoran, and I have been sleeping for exactly 1,000 of your years. You should not have been able to wake me." "Cathmoran?" Marcus repeated. "I have never heard of that name. Are you from some lost civilization?" Zara made a sound that might have been laughter, but there was no joy in it. "Lost civilization. Yes, I suppose that is one way to describe us. We ruled among the stars when your people were still learning to make fire." Marcus felt dizzy. This woman was claiming to be an alien. Either he was having some kind of breakdown from working too hard, or the most important discovery in human history had just happened in his tent. "You are saying you are from another planet," Marcus said slowly. "I am from many planets," Zara replied. "My people built an empire that stretched across thousands of star systems. We were powerful beyond your understanding. The power was not enough to save us from what came next." Zara walked to the tent opening and looked out at the desert. The sun was rising, and the golden light made her skin seem to glow. Marcus noticed that she moved like she was not quite used to having a physical body again. "What came next?" Marcus asked. "The void swarm," Zara said, and her voice became cold with fear. "Creatures made of pure hunger that move between the stars like a plague. They consume everything in their path. Planets, the stars, entire civilizations disappear into their endless appetite." Marcus wanted to laugh. This sounded like something from a science fiction movie. But the woman standing in his tent was real. She had been a crystal statue, and now she was flesh and blood. If that was possible, then maybe anything was possible. "We fought them for 1,000 years, Zara continued. "But they were too many and too hungry. For every one we destroyed, 10 more appeared. Finally, we realized that we could not win by fighting. So, what did you do? We went to sleep, Zara said simply. All of us. Across the entire galaxy, every Kethmoran entered a deep stasis. We built great machines to hide our presence and make it seem like our worlds were empty and dead. The Void Swarm needs living minds to track their prey. Without us actively thinking and creating, they could not find us. Marcus was starting to understand, and the understanding filled him with dread. And when I woke you up, you sent a signal across space that cannot be hidden, Zara finished. The machines that kept us hidden are now failing. Every sleeping Kethmoran will begin to wake. And worse, the Void Swarm will sense that intelligent life has returned to this part of the galaxy. Marcus stood up and began pacing around the small tent. This was too much to process. According to this woman, he had just doomed not only Earth, but the entire galaxy by giving her a simple kiss. Why were you here? Marcus asked. Why was your statue in an ancient human temple? Zara turned away from the tent opening. Because Earth was never supposed to develop intelligent life while we slept. This world was designated as a protected nursery. Life here was supposed to stay simple and primitive until we woke up and could guide its development safely. But humans did become intelligent, Marcus said. Impossibly fast, Zara agreed. When we went to sleep, your people had barely discovered metal working. According to our calculations, it should have taken you 50,000 more years to reach your current level. Something about humans is different from every other species we studied. Marcus felt a strange mix of pride and terror. Humans were special, but that specialness might have just killed everyone. How long before they arrive? Marcus asked. The Void Swarm? The scouts will come first, Zara said. They move faster than light in ways that your science does not understand yet. Days, perhaps weeks. The main swarm will follow within months. And your people? The Kethmoran? Some will wake quickly. Others may take years to fully return to consciousness. But they will not arrive in time to save Earth from the first wave. Marcus felt completely helpless. He was just one man with a degree in old artifacts. What could he possibly do against space monsters that an entire galactic empire could not defeat? There has to be something, Marcus said. Some way to stop this. Zara looked at him with those golden eyes, and for the first time, he saw something that might have been hope. Perhaps your people developed much faster than we predicted. Maybe you have capabilities that we never considered. Like what? I do not know yet. But the fact that you could wake me when no. Kethmoran technology should have allowed it suggests that humans are more than they appear. Marcus thought about all the things humanity had accomplished in just the last 100 years. Flight, space travel, computers, the internet. Maybe Zara was right. Maybe humans were special in ways that even they did not understand. What do we do now? Marcus asked. Now we prepare, Zara said. I need to access your global communication networks to understand how far human technology has advanced. And you need to contact your government leaders. They need to know what is coming. Marcus laughed, but it was not a happy sound. They will think I am crazy. A professor claiming that he kissed an alien statue that came to life and told him about space monsters? They will lock me up. Then, we will have to show them proof they cannot ignore, Zara said. She walked over to Marcus's equipment and touched one of the computers. Immediately, the screen filled with symbols and images that moved too fast for human eyes to follow. Your technology is primitive, but surprisingly creative, Zara said as data flowed across the screen. Yes, I think there might be hope after all. Humans think in ways that no other species I know has ever thought. This chaos in your minds might be exactly what we need. Marcus watched the alien woman interface with human technology like she had been born to it. Maybe she was right. Maybe the same wild creativity that had let humans advance so fast would be enough to save them from the darkness between the stars. But first, they had to convince the world that the darkness was coming. 3 days after Zara awakened, Marcus found himself in a secure government facility deep underground. Getting the world's leaders to listen had been easier than he expected. When Zara demonstrated her ability to interface with any computer system on Earth and showed them star maps of places that human telescopes had never seen, the questions stopped and the action began. General Sarah Morrison, head of the newly formed Earth Defense Initiative, stood before a massive screen showing data strings that Zara was pulling from sources across the planet. "Tell me again how your people were defeated," she said to Zara. "We relied too heavily on our technology and our logical thinking," Zara explained. "The Void Swarm is a hive mind. It learns patterns and adapts to them. Our weapons, our tactics, our strategies all followed logical progressions that the Swarm could predict and counter. But humans are different," Dr. Lisa Park, the facility's head scientist, said. It was not really a question. Everyone in the room had seen the data. Marcus nodded. Over the past 3 days, he had been experiencing changes that he could barely understand. The kiss that awakened Zara had also changed him somehow. His mind could process information faster than ever before. He could understand alien technology just by looking at it. Most importantly, he could feel things that were not there yet. Like his brain was reaching into the future and pulling back warnings. "Show them," Zara said to Marcus. Marcus walked over to a broken alien device that Zara had materialized from her sleeping chamber. It was a cube covered in symbols that shifted and moved like living things. When the human engineers tried to study it, it remained completely inactive. But when Marcus touched it, the cube came to life. "I do not know how I know this," Marcus said as symbols danced around the cube, "but this is a communication device. It sends messages faster than light by folding space. The symbols are not writing. They are actually small pieces of folded spacetime that carry information." He made a twisting motion with his fingers, and the symbols rearranged themselves into new patterns. Suddenly, the cube was picking up signals from across the galaxy. The room filled with sounds and images from alien worlds. "Impossible," Dr. Park whispered. "Our best physicists have been studying faster than light communication for decades. The theoretical framework alone should take years to understand." "That is exactly my point," Zara said. "Calf-born children need 50 years of education to operate a device like this. Marcus figured it out in 3 days, and he is not even trained as a scientist." General Morrison looked skeptical. "So humans learn fast. That is good, but will it be enough to fight these Void Swarm creatures?" Zara connected her consciousness to the facility's main computer system. "Let me show you what I discovered when I first accessed your global networks." The screens around the room came alive with images from human history. Wars, art, music, literature, scientific discoveries, and technological innovations flashed by in rapid succession. "Every other intelligent species I have studied follows predictable patterns," Zara explained. "They develop language, then basic tools, then mathematics, then technology. The progression is always logical and orderly. But humans, the images shifted to show the chaos of human development. Art created before written language. Music that broke mathematical rules. Scientists who made breakthrough discoveries by ignoring logic and following wild hunches. Humans do not think in straight lines," Zara continued. "You create beauty before you understand why it is beautiful. You solve problems by breaking the rules. You make impossible leaps of logic that somehow turn out to be correct. This chaos in your thinking is what allowed you to develop so fast." Marcus felt a strange tingling in his mind as he watched the images. It was like seeing himself and all of humanity from the outside for the first time. They really were different from other species. The thing that made humans seem primitive and disorganized was actually their greatest strength. But how does this help us fight? General Morrison asked. Because the Void Swarm cannot predict chaos, Zara said. Their hive mind is based on pattern recognition and logical progression. When they encounter humans, they will expect you to behave like every other species they have consumed. Organized, logical, predictable. Dr. Park was beginning to understand. But we are not organized or logical. Exactly. In the past 3 days, I have watched your military strategists develop battle plans that make no logical sense. Any rational analysis says they should fail completely. But I have run simulations, and somehow they work. Not only do they work, they are more effective than strategies that follow proper tactical doctrine. Marcus walked over to another alien device, this one a weapon that had been inactive for 1,000 years. As soon as he touched it, the weapon hummed to life. But instead of using it the way it was designed to be used, Marcus began modifying it. This should not be possible, he said as he worked. I am changing the fundamental structure of the device. But somehow I know it will work better this way. Sparks flew as Marcus rewired alien circuits that had been built using principles human science had not discovered yet. When he finished, the weapon looked nothing like its original form. Test it, Zara said. Though she looked nervous, Marcus pointed the modified weapon at a reinforced steel target and fired. Instead of the focused energy beam the weapon was designed to produce, it released a chaotic burst of different energies that seemed to change randomly. The steel target did not just melt or break. It seemed to forget that it was supposed to be solid and simply cease to exist. Chaos weapons, Dr. Park said with excitement. You created a weapon that fires pure randomness. The Void Swarm will not know how to defend against something that has no consistent pattern, Zara added. This could actually work. General Morrison was already thinking tactically. How many of these devices can you make? How quickly? That is the beauty of human thinking, Zara said. You do not need to make thousands of identical weapons. Every human will approach the problem differently. Every weapon will be unique. Every strategy will be unpredictable. Over the following weeks, something amazing happened. As news of the coming invasion spread to the world's governments, humanity responded in the most human way possible. Instead of panicking or giving up, they got creative. Engineers began building impossible machines that should not work, but somehow did. Artists created weapons that were also beautiful sculptures. Musicians discovered that certain sound frequencies could disrupt alien technology. Even children playing with toys accidentally invented new defense systems. Marcus found himself at the center of it all, his enhanced abilities allowing him to understand and improve every new invention. But the most amazing thing was that he was not the only one changing. Every human who worked with alien technology began to develop enhanced capabilities. It is not just you, Zara told Marcus as they watched a group of teenagers successfully reverse engineer a Keth-Morin shield generator. Contact with our technology is awakening something in all humans. Some kind of dormant potential that your species has always possessed. Marcus looked around at the controlled chaos of the facility. Hundreds of humans were working on projects that should have been impossible, and somehow making them work through pure creativity and stubborn refusal to accept limitations. Maybe the Void Swarm chose the wrong planet to attack, Marcus said. Zara smiled. And for the first time since she awakened, she looked hopeful. Perhaps they did. But we are about to find out. My sensors detect the first scout ships entering your solar system. The test of humanity's chaotic potential was about to begin. The first Void Swarm scout appeared near Jupiter on a Tuesday morning. It looked like a massive black jellyfish made of pure darkness. tentacles stretching for hundreds of miles as it fed on the gas giant's moons. Every time it consumed matter, it grew larger and more solid. Marcus watched from the underground command center as real-time images came in from hastily launched observation satellites. The creature was beautiful in a terrifying way, like watching a living nightmare dance among the planets. "It is smaller than I expected," General Morrison said, studying the tactical displays. "That is just a scout," Zara replied, her golden eyes reflecting the glow of the screens. "The scouts test the defenses and send information back to the main swarm. This one is probably only a few miles across. The hunters that follow will be the size of small moons." Dr. Park coordinated with teams across the globe as they prepared humanity's chaotic response. "All stations report ready. The orbital platforms are in position, and the ground-based chaos cannons are charged." Marcus felt the familiar tingling in his enhanced mind. Over the past month, his connection to both human creativity and alien technology had grown stronger. He could sense the scout's simple thoughts as it fed and transmitted data about Earth's defenses. "It expects us to attack with organized military formations," Marcus said. "Neat formations of ships following standard attack patterns. It is preparing countermeasures for logical tactical approaches." "Good thing we are not logical," General Morrison said with a grim smile. Launch Operation Mayhem. What happened next would have confused any traditional military strategist. Instead of a coordinated attack, Earth's defense began with what looked like complete chaos. Akkad's defense began with what looked like complete chaos. Akkad or Defkans began. Jazz musician named Carlos Santos launched himself toward Jupiter in a modified spacecraft that played music loud enough to be heard across space. The music was not random noise, but a carefully composed piece that used mathematical chaos theory to create patterns that shifted and changed faster than any mind could follow. The Void Scout tried to analyze the musical attack and began changing its defensive frequency to match the sound patterns. But just as it adapted, the music shifted to something completely different. Carlos was improvising, creating new melodies in real time that even he could not predict. The creature became confused and stopped feeding. Its attention focused entirely on the impossible musical patterns. That was when the second wave hit. A group of teenagers in modified video game mechs attacked from behind Jupiter's largest moon. Their movements were based on skateboarding tricks and dance moves rather than military tactics. They spun and flipped through space in patterns that made no strategic sense but somehow allowed them to avoid every one of the Scout's defensive attacks. The Void Scout tried to learn their movement patterns, but the teenagers kept changing their approach. One moment they were breakdancing through an asteroid field. The next they were surfing on solar winds while shooting chaos weapons that fired pure randomness. "It is working," Dr. Park reported with excitement. "The creature's adaptive systems are overloading. It cannot process this many unpredictable variables at once." But the real surprise came when Sarah Torres, a fighter pilot who had been working with Marcus to develop new combat techniques, arrived in a spacecraft that should not have been able to fly. It was built from parts of alien technology and human creativity, held together by what could only be described as stubborn optimism. Sarah's ship moved through space like it was swimming rather than flying. She had thrown away every rule of physics and aerospace engineering and created something that worked through pure human determination to make impossible things possible. "Sarah, what are you doing?" General Morrison asked through the communication system. "Your approach vector makes no sense. You are flying directly toward the creature's strongest defensive zone." "That is the point, General," Sarah replied. Her voice was calm and focused. "Zara taught me that the Void Swarm expects logical behavior. So I am going to do the most illogical thing possible. Marcus watched in terror and amazement as Sarah flew her impossible ship directly into the scout's energy matrix. Any sane analysis said she should have been disintegrated instantly. But instead of destroying her ship, the creature's defenses seemed to bend around her chaotic approach. "The creature does not understand what she is doing," Zara said, with wonder in her voice. "Its defensive systems are designed to stop attacks that make sense. Sarah's approach is so completely irrational that the creature's mind cannot even recognize it as an attack." Sarah flew through the heart of the Void Scout like it was made of smoke. As she passed through its core, she released a chaos bomb that Marcus had designed. The weapon did not explode in any conventional way. Instead, it filled the creature's consciousness with pure human imagination. Random thoughts, impossible ideas, contradictory emotions, and chaotic creativity flooded the scout's simple hive mind. It experienced human dreams, nightmares, art, music, love, hate, and hope, all at the same time. For a creature that existed on pure logic and predictable patterns, this chaos was like poison. The Void Scout began to break apart. Not from any physical damage, but from the sheer impossibility of processing human consciousness. It tried to adapt to the chaos, but adaptation requires understanding, and human imagination was beyond its ability to understand. Within minutes, the massive creature simply dissolved, its matter scattering harmlessly through space. The command center erupted in cheers, but Marcus felt a chill of worry. That was just the scout, he reminded everyone, and it transmitted everything it learned back to the main swarm before Sarah destroyed it. What did it learn? General Morrison asked. That we are completely insane. Sarah's voice came through the communication system as she flew her impossible ship back toward Earth. And that insanity is our greatest weapon. Zara studied the data streams that were still coming in from the outer solar system. The main swarm will arrive within days. But something has changed. The scout's final transmission was confused. The swarm has never encountered anything like humanity before. Will that be enough? Dr. Park asked. I do not know, Zara admitted. But for the first time in 1,000 years, I believe there is hope. Your people just did something that my entire civilization thought was impossible. You turned chaos itself into a weapon. Marcus felt the enhanced abilities in his mind reaching out toward the darkness between the stars. He could sense something vast and hungry approaching Earth, but he could also sense something else. The awakening Kethmoran ships scattered throughout the galaxy were beginning to move, and they were learning from humanity's example. The real battle is coming, Marcus said. But we have shown the galaxy something new. We have shown them that sometimes the best way to fight order is with beautiful chaos. Over the next few days, reports came in from around the world. Humanity was preparing for war in the most human way possible. Artists were building weapons that were also sculptures. Scientists were creating defenses based on song lyrics. Engineers were constructing impossible machines that worked through pure determination. The Void Swarm was coming to consume Earth, but they were about to discover that some things in the universe are too chaotic to be consumed, too creative to be predicted, and too stubbornly human to give up without a fight that would be remembered across the galaxy for 1,000 years. The main Void Swarm fleet emerged from dark space like a cancer spreading across the solar system. Hundreds of creatures the size of moons moved toward Earth. Their hunger so vast that they began consuming asteroids and space debris. Just by passing near them. At the center of the swarm was something that made Marcus's enhanced mind recoil in terror. The prime hunger was less a creature than a living void in space, so massive that it bent light around itself. It had devoured entire star systems and absorbed the knowledge and memories of countless civilizations. It knows everything that every consumed species ever learned. Zara explained as they watched from the command center. Every military strategy, every technological advancement, every cultural development of 10,000 worlds lives inside that thing's mind. General Morrison coordinated Earth's final defense preparations. Then we just have to show it something that has never been learned before. The battle began in the most human way possible, with complete and utter chaos. Musicians across Earth began playing a symphony that had never been written down. Each orchestra and band was improvising their parts in real time, creating music that changed faster than any mind could follow. The sound was broadcast into space through every communication device on the planet. The void swarm's advance faltered as the creatures tried to process the musical chaos. They had absorbed the musical knowledge of thousands of worlds, but they had never encountered music that wrote itself as it was being played. While the swarm was distracted by the impossible symphony, Earth's defenders launched their counterattack. It was not a military formation, but something that looked more like an art installation that had decided to fight a war. Spacecraft, built from dreams and held together by hoped of between the massive creatures. Pilots who had learned to fly by playing video games maneuvered their ships like they were dancing. Weapons that fired imagination and creativity instead of energy beams struck the creatures in ways they could not understand or defend against. But the prime hunger was too vast and too experienced to be confused for long. It began to adapt to humanity's chaos, learning to predict the unpredictable through sheer processing power. "It is working out our patterns," Marcus said, as he watched the battle through his enhanced senses. "Not our logical patterns, but our chaos patterns. It is learning to understand chaos itself." That was when the first of the awakened Kethmoran ships arrived. The ancient vessel appeared near Mars, its crystalline hull gleaming with technologies that humanity had never imagined. But instead of following traditional Kethmoran battle protocols, the ship began fighting like humans. "They are learning from you," Zara said with amazement. "My people are abandoning 10,000 years of logical military doctrine and embracing chaos instead." More Kethmoran ships arrived throughout the battle, but each one fought differently. Some ships moved like they were dancing, others attacked in patterns based on human poetry. And one vessel near Jupiter began fighting in time to jazz music. The combination of human creativity and Kethmoran technology created something the galaxy had never seen before. Weapons that sang while they fired. Ships that painted beautiful patterns of destruction across space. Defenses that worked because they were too beautiful to break, but the prime hunger continued to adapt. Its massive consciousness began to understand chaos as just another form of order. It started to predict human unpredictability and counter Kethmoran creativity. "It is learning too fast," Dr. Park reported. "At this rate, it will figure out how to defeat chaos within hours." Marcus felt something shift in his enhanced mind. The connection he had with both human and alien consciousness was growing stronger, but it was also pulling him towards something that terrified him. "There is a way," Marcus said quietly, "but it requires the ultimate chaos. Complete unpredictability." "What do you mean?" General Morrison asked. Marcus looked at Zara, and she understood immediately. Her golden eyes filled with sorrow and pride. "He means sacrifice," she said. "The one thing no logical mind can predict or counter." Marcus nodded. "The prime hunger learns by consuming consciousness. It has absorbed the minds of billions of beings, but they were all trying to survive. It has never consumed someone who chose to be consumed, someone who entered its mind willingly." "Marcus, no," Dr. Park said. "There has to be another way." "The chaos of self-sacrifice," Marcus continued, "is something that no hive mind based on survival can understand. If I enter the prime hunger's consciousness voluntarily, carrying the full chaotic potential of human creativity, it will try to absorb and understand what I am. But human creativity cannot be contained or understood. It can only be experienced." General Morrison was already shaking her head. "We cannot ask you to do this." "You are not asking," Marcus said with a smile. "I am choosing. That is the most human thing of all." Marcus left the command center and boarded a small ship that he had modified with both human creativity and Kethmoran technology. As he flew toward the massive prime hunger, he opened his mind completely to every chaotic, creative, impossible thought that humanity had ever had. The prime hunger sensed his approach and reached out with tentacles of pure void to consume him. But instead of fighting or trying to escape, Marcus flew directly into the creature's consciousness. The moment his mind touched the prime hunger's vast intelligence, chaos erupted throughout the creature's being. Marcus did not try to fight or resist. Instead, he shared everything that made humans special. He shared the memory of his first kiss with a girl in high school, the illogical joy of falling in love. He shared the experience of reading a book that made him cry, the impossible beauty of art that served no survival purpose. He shared the stubborn human refusal to accept that things were impossible, the determination to keep trying, even when logic said to give up. Most importantly, he shared the pure chaos of human dreams. Not the organized, logical dreams of other species, but the wild, impossible, contradictory dreams that humans created every night. The prime hunger tried to process and understand these experiences, but human consciousness was like a virus that rewrote everything it touched. The creature's logical mind began to break down as it tried to contain the uncontainable. Throughout its vast body, the prime hunger began to experience things it had never felt before. Creativity, hope, love, art, music, and the impossible joy of making something beautiful just because it could be beautiful. The other void swarm creatures, connected to the prime hunger's hive mind, began to experience the same chaos. One by one, they stopped fighting and started to change. Some creatures began creating patterns of beauty instead of destruction. Others started to sing instead of consuming. A few simply stopped moving and contemplated the strange new feelings that Marcus's sacrifice had given them. The prime hunger itself underwent the most dramatic change. Instead of a void of pure hunger, it became something new. The dark space at its center filled with swirling colors and impossible shapes as it tried to create rather than consume. Marcus felt his consciousness expanding throughout the creature's mind, not being absorbed, but instead transforming everything it touched. He was still himself, but he was also something more. He had become a bridge between order and chaos, between logic and creativity. When the transformation was complete, the former prime hunger spoke with a voice that combined Marcus's humanity with cosmic wisdom. "We understand now. Consumption without creation is emptiness. We choose to create instead of devour." The war ended not with victory or defeat, but with transformation. In the months that followed, Earth became the center of a new galactic civilization. The former void swarm creatures became artists and musicians, using their vast power to create beauty throughout the galaxy. The Kethmoran ships returned to their worlds not as conquerors, but as teachers, sharing the chaos of human creativity with species that had forgotten how to dream. Marcus survived his sacrifice, transformed into something between human and cosmic consciousness. He became Earth's ambassador to the galaxy, helping other species learn to embrace creativity and chaos. Zara established schools throughout the galaxy where the children of different species learned together. The most popular classes were Creative Chaos Theory and How to Think Like a Human, subjects that taught beings to break the rules and make the impossible possible. Earth became known not as a primitive backwater world, but as the planet that saved the galaxy by teaching it to dream. And in every school, in every world where intelligence flourished, children learned the story of the human who kissed a statue and woke up not just an alien, but the creative potential of the entire universe. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the most powerful force in existence was not order or chaos, but the beautiful dance between them that happened when someone refused to accept that impossible things could not be made real.